Chapter 121 Florida Man outruns cops by mimicking animals. A group of 20 golden core cultivators blindly charged toward Leo. They ignored the strength difference and attacked with their palms in unison. 10 palms hit Leo's chest and back while he hadn't finished changing his clothes. Their hands directly touched his skin. Ha! Leo frowned while he was in the middle of wearing a new t-shirt. He wondered what their problem was. What's the big deal, dudes? Can't you see that I'm changing clothes? The cultivators also frowned as their full power attacks were ineffective. They then rechecked Leo's cultivation base. The cultists' expressions turned dark as they were offended. However, none of them could see through Leo's cultivation base. The only thing they noticed was his rainbow aura. A soul formation cultivator? One of them guessed Leo's strength, but it was far off. Leo glanced at them for a moment. When he recalled that he didn't know the cult's headquarters location, he had an idea. "You there, boy? Are you one of those cultists?" What was the name? Fatui cult. The cultists flinched as if they weren't Leo's opponent. All golden core cultivators took several steps back and pulled out their weapons from their spatial rings. Realizing that they weren't Leo's opponent, one of the cultists asked Leo to de-escalate the situation. "Senior, this is a commoner's town. Someone with your status shouldn't cause trouble here. It will affect your reputation." Noticing how quickly their attitude changed, Leo was impressed. Finally some smart people. I've met so many stupid cultivators that I feel sick. Or should I say, great strength comes with great idiocy. When a person is weak, that person cultivates brain cells. Too bad they're a tat stupid. Shame. Nobody understood what Leo mumbled about. 10 seconds later, the golden core cultists felt the burn from their palms. They looked at their hands in confusion. Everybody's hands swelled and turned purple. Their finger bones shattered while their arms grew new boneless limbs at a rapid rate. 2 seconds later, the swelling disease reached their shoulders, enlarging their muscle mass and creating new organs at random. One of them grew a large eyeball on his shoulder as if he was a villain character in Resident Evil. 2 grew rib cages from their shoulders and spinal cords while the rest got extra limbs. The mutation process seemed to benefit the cultivators at first. But when the purple blood reached their hearts, they collapsed and stopped breathing. Leo finally finished putting on his new clothes. He hummed and gazed at the dead mutated humans in a good mood. Sitting next to the corpses, Leo collected their bodies into his spatial ring, putting them in the same ring as the mysterious blue stone. Nice! Free fluid. Nothing was better than free materials. Unfortunately, Leo couldn't steal their lifespan here as he was outside his domain. After storing the dead cultivators, Leo looked around. Surrounding Leo were hundreds of cowering commoners. They trembled and looked at Leo in fear, unable to move. As they were commoners, they didn't dare to do anything stupid like the guards. Noticing how the situation escalated, Leo sighed. He approached one of the onlookers and questioned them. The person was a wandering merchant, who carried a wooden backpack full of trinkets and tools. He shivered as Leo approached. The merchant was a 50-year-old man. He had a long and thick mustache, but he had no beard. His long messy hair was already gray, but he had a bald forehead. "You there? Me? Yes, you. Do you know where the Fatui cult's headquarters is?" The merchant looked around him to ask for help, but the other commoners finally regained their leg strength and ran away. Seeing how he was abandoned, the merchant swallowed his fear and answered honestly. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't know. I'm also a visitor here." "I see." Leo lightly snorted as he pitted himself for asking the wrong person. Still, feeling bad for the innocent bystander, Leo thought of something. He scanned his spatial rings, checking if he had something useful in this situation. He also picked up 20 spatial rings of the golden core cultivators earlier. It was easy to find something valuable among the loot. Leo unsealed one of the rings and ejected a handful of spirit stones. As he directly touched the spirit stones, they were upgraded into essence stones. Leo flickered one of the essence stones to the merchant, which the latter barely caught it. Leo didn't forget to advertise his store. "I see that you're a wandering merchant. If you have time, visit my humble store north of here. It's not far from Magpie City. You can't miss it. If you do, I'll sell you something good. Of course, it might be expensive, but they will be worth your time." After pitching the sale, Leo left the wandering merchant alone. He leaped to the sky. Jiang Chang, the merchant, gulped and gazed at the essence stone in his hand for a moment. A few seconds later, he dropped it on the ground as it burned his skin. "Ow!" It's hot. The essence stone fell into one of the puddles. As soon as it touched the water, the clear puddle got contaminated and emitted rainbow light. Jiang Cheng patted his scarred hands on his robes in pain. Still, as he was curious, he grabbed a pair of chopsticks from his wear and picked up the round stone. Plop. As the essence stone looked like a glass marble, a pair of chopsticks weren't suitable for picking the round ball. The merchant switched his tool to fire tongs and picked it up. Looking at the item closer, the man widened his eyes in shock. He could roughly guess what it was even though it was incorrect. Isn't this a spirit stone? A spirit stone that those immortals use. If I use this, can I become an immortal or a cultivator like them? Jiang Cheng looked left and right. He took off his outer layer of robes and wrapped the essence stone. He then put the bundle of clothes in his wooden backpack and sprinted out of town. The gate guards didn't stop the man. He let the guy out as many people came in and out every day, so there was no point checking leaving people. After leaving the city, the wandering merchant dryly laughed. He thought about Leo's words and looked north. I remember Magpie City. It's a small town that big firms ignore. Well, since there won't be as many competitors, should I pay them a visit and see what I can buy and resell? Also, I need a place to study about this. Jiang Cheng had never had a chance to practice martial arts. He wondered if he could fly like the factory cultists in the Frozen Fire City too. After ditching the bald forehead merchant, Leo continued scanning the city, searching for landmarks and big buildings. Oh, there. Leo noticed the tallest pagoda not far from there. He thought of the pagodas in the mystic realm and wondered if weird monsters lived there as well. Still, the scent of cat was getting thinner as the odor of commoners, latrines, and food mixed together started to smell the same. After landing, Leo stopped relying on his eyes and solely focused on his nose. He even concentrated and commanded his cells to focus on the olfactory system. The living cancer cells were cooperative. Leo's face whitened as his transparent blood gathered in his face, carrying countless drops of element essence. Leo's 5 senses sharpened. Although his eyes couldn't perceive the color of the scent, his nose created a mental image of scent flow in his mind, filtering and differentiating each odor. Having another mental map in his mind, Leo's body moved by instinct. He crawled on all 4 and sprinted like a dog. Leo didn't understand why he degraded himself to that of a dog. However, by lowering his stance, he picked up the scent better. Although he was ashamed and embarrassed, Leo pushed on and ignored the bystanders. Woof woof coming through. Don't stand in my way, or I'll nom nom woof you. Roalfin dialfes and omicron v epsilon l dot omicron m at first. Leo ran through the busy streets like a 4-legged animal. But after getting used to it, he started pushing his legs and arms longer, sprinting like a cheetah. Then, he started parkouring instinctively over people and obstacles in front of him. Running for 2 kilometers, Leo arrived in front of a shabby, wooden cabin in a slum area. However, 2 nascent soul cultivators stood in front of the building. Leo stopped running and stood on 2 legs. He patted his hands twice. Ah! He suddenly flinched as he remembered something important. Along the way, he accidentally touched random objects with his bare hands when he parkouring through the crowded places. Leo secretly prayed that no innocent bystanders got hurt by the random radiation that he left behind. Oh no. Anyway, he gazed at the nascent soul cultivators, who already noticed Leo's arrival. They sweated profusely as they realized that Leo had a higher cultivation base than theirs. Gentlemen, I'll be brief. GTFO or else. The 2 guards looked at each other. They then cupped their fists and flew away without saying a word. Leo nodded in approval. Finally, some smart people. I hate dealing with idiots. Resuming the posture of a 4-leg animal, Leo entered the building and followed Cat's scent. It had been a week since every mystic realm portal on this planet was open. However, not everybody came out early as the Emperor or Situ Nantion. Factory cult sent many people into the same mystic realm. As there were 2 portals in their territory, they got to send 20 people in. However, nobody had come out to report about their expedition result yet. As most big shots were away, the strongest person in the cult was just a soul transformation elder. He was also in charge of sacrificial rituals as he cultivated the rare blood element, which required cultivators to gather the blood of other cultivators to get stronger. In front of an altar, the elder wore black robes and a black wood mask to cover his face. His scarce white hair couldn't hide his bald head and his pale skin. The elder stared at the cages of today's sacrifices. He also frowned when he noticed the giant monster, who nonchalantly ate another disciple from his sect. What have you idiots captured? Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Chapter 122. Self-proclaiming environment activist Florida man steals church pillar and doors to recycle them. Entering the shack, Leo found a round magic circle with floating Chinese characters. It glowed in purple light, illuminating the dark building. As Leo had no idea what it was, he sniffed the air, following Cat's scent. Strangely, it stopped in the middle of the magic circle. Since Leo's clue ended there, he stepped on the circle and inspected the floating characters. He reached out to touch one of them. The character dissipated to particles upon contact. Then, the entire magic circle dimmed and got deactivated. What? Leo's disappointment was immeasurable, and his day was ruined. He scratched his head in frustration. How the hell do you activate this thing? God damn it. I should have dragged one of those fools along. Because of his frustration, he stomped out of the building. He looked left and right, searching for one of the cultists in the area. Unfortunately, no cultivator was in sight. Only beggars and poor commoners nearby warily gazed at Leo. Unable to find a local cultivator, Leo thought of a sick plan. He looked up and stared at the tall pagoda at the center of the town. Leo paused to contemplate. He would surely find a cultivator there, but they might not cooperate with him. After all, not all cultivators were as friendly as people from the Life Sword sect. Maybe later. Leo snorted and went back into the cabin. He returned to the deactivated magic circle. Crouching, Leo touched the stone floor. Another weird idea came to his mind. He gently punched the ground. Boom! The stone floor cracked and crumbled, revealing a hollow area underground. Leo fell into the large hole along with the debris, yet he smiled. His plan worked as intended. Aha! I'm a genius! Upon landing, a few pieces of stone and rubble hit his head and his shoulders, but Leo ignored them. His green eyes shone as he scanned through the darkness. The hollow area was not a natural cave or an underground waterway. Stone beams and pillars were visible everywhere. The ceiling was made from glowing purple metal that Leo had never seen before, and it emitted a foul odor of rotten rats. The purple fog around the metal frame was also thick, hindering Leo's visibility. Seeing the thick fog and the weird metal frames, Leo rubbed his hands in glee. He fiddled with the newly acquired spatial rings of the dead guards earlier. Useless grain pills, black clothes, cone hoodies, and random objects came out from the rings as Leo threw them away. He then glanced at the black uniform for a moment before he put them on. After dressing as one of the cultists, Leo pointed his finger at the pile of items. He silently thought to himself, commanding his cancer cells. Can you guys create fire? I need to burn those things. The cells were very cooperative. Several transparent blood cells released fire element essence and transformed them into a stream of flame. As if Leo's finger turned into a flamethrower gun, it sprayed white flame at the pile of junk. The non-element grain pills, clothes, and useless tools of the cultivators melted instantly. After everything turned to ash, Leo patted his finger and removed the fire. After clearing spaces in his spatial rings, Leo walked toward a purple metal pillar. He widely grinned and linked his chi string from the purple metal and his spatial ring. Whoosh! Just like when Leo sucked the blue gemstone into his ring earlier, the entire pillar vanished into his ring's pocket inventory. Rumble! After one of the pillars vanished, the ceiling slightly trembled. Dust and small stones fell from the tall ceiling. Leo looked up and rubbed his chin. Then, he thought of the commoners in the city, and his expression turned dark. TSK. Can't be greedy. I might enjoy collecting some idiot's lifespan, but I ain't Putin. I'm not into a senseless massacre. Avoiding killing bystanding commoners, Leo stopped stealing another metal pillar. He explored the underground cave instead. It wasn't difficult to locate new points of interest. Aside from the pillars and beams, 4 10-meter-tall doors stood tall in 4 different directions: north, west, east, and south. The underground cave's walls seemed asymmetrical. However, its general shape was a square, which was easy to navigate. Leo sniffed each door. 3 of the doors smelled like concentrated smelling salt, which caused Leo to turn his head away and covered his nose. Although the scent heightened his senses and adrenaline, it was unpleasant. As for the other door, aka the east gate, it had a thick scent of blood. Trusting his instinct, Leo chose to enter the east gate first. Instead of pushing the 2 doors open, Leo patted them and stored the massive metal doors in his spatial rings. It was not about greed. It was about moral integrity. Since local cultivators abandoned these precious metals and used them as metal frames and doors, Leo believed that he could do them a favor by collecting their junk and researching them. After all, there was a saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. After the doors vanished, a large underground hallway stood before Leo. Unlike this room, it was well decorated with wall torches, human bones, and random Chinese words written in blood. However, no one had lighted the torches in the area. Leo smiled and was about to follow the path. However, he paused for a moment and made a U-turn. Returning to the north gate, Leo quietly stored the doors to his spatial rings. Then, he went to the other two gates and collected them as well. Nothing was left behind, except the metal frames that supported the ceiling. After grabbing the precious metal doors, Leo returned to the bloody hallway. He walked in the dark while he adjusted his robes. Walking a kilometer, Leo came across another gate. This time, it was a single glowing gate. Its purple light was brighter than the beams and pillars in the previous room, and the fog was even thicker and smellier. On the door's surface, there was an emblem that the previous 4 doors didn't have. It was the image of a cone mask that the cultists always wore. Looking at the emblem, Leo was disgusted. He was even more disturbed that he was wearing their uniform. I pray that you don't discriminate against another race, or I'll freaking turn y'all into fluid. Leo braced the fog and put his palms on the single gate. Then he tried to steal it. As soon as Leo touched it, the emblem shone and unleashed a shockwave blast. A strong gale made Leo's robes flutter, and his cone hoodie was blown away. However, that did nothing to him. He stood there, picking his nose. He scooped a centimeter-diameter booger ball out from his nostril. He inspected it because of the old habit, after which he tried to flicker it away, but it got stuck on his finger. After combating the sticky booger for a minute, Leo surrendered. He pressed the booger against the door and swiped it away from his finger. Even though the booger was a collective bacteria and small particles, the majority of it was made from Leo's bodily fluid. Thus, it contained a thick amount of essence. As soon as the booger was planted on the door, it began transforming the metal door. From purple, it turned red, and the metal door expanded larger. Creak. The loud sound of moving metal echoed underground before the entire door distorted and bent because of its large size. A few seconds later, it was folded in half, and it stopped glowing. Leo tilted his head in confusion as he had no clue what just happened. He shrugged and collected the folded metal door and proceeded forward. After entering another room, Leo came across a populated area. As soon as he entered, he found 100 cultists in the same clothes, looking at him. Who are you? Leo paused for a moment. He then pointed at his clothes and feigned ignorance. Ain't I one of you? As most cultists always wore masks, they couldn't remember every member's face. They stared at Leo in doubt, but half of them only glanced at his robes and looked away. Where's your mask? Why are you coming from that gate? Ah, my mask. Leo touched his face and smacked his forehead. My bad. That stupid door suddenly spat on my face and blew my mask away. It should be somewhere in the hallway. You haven't answered all my questions. Why are you coming from that hallway? That place should have been sealed. Sealed? Oh, Leo smacked his lips. He pondered if he should continue playing it cool like Agent 47 or if should he start genociding. Since he found the situation fun, he picked the first option first. There was an accident. I tried to use the usual teleportation array, but it collapsed on me. When I realized it, I got trapped in an abandoned room. It took me a while to get back here. That was a random excuse. Leo crossed his fingers and revealed a bad poker face. The cultists stared at Leo for a while. Some of them brought a torch closer to see Leo's face. But as soon as they got a clearer look, the cultists instantly noticed Leo's rainbow aura, which reflected the torchlight. Noticing Leo's superior cultivation base, 100 cultists knelt in panic. Forgive us, Senior. We didn't know that you would visit the Hour Chamber. Leo blankly stared at the crowd. He frowned for a moment. Noticing that Leo stopped talking, everybody took off their masks and hoodies, revealing their faces. Surprisingly, they were all old men. Noticing their ages, Leo wryly smiled. He figured out why they weren't intimidated by his look and appearance age. Which chamber is this? Leo continued playing it cool. This is lowly priest residential area. Senior. Only golden core and nascent soul priests live here. Oh, just you? Is there anybody else? No, Senior. Most of the priests have gathered at the sacrificial city. I think the elder priest will perform another sacrifice ritual soon, since they have captured a 7th-grade plant monster. Ho! Leo narrowed his eyes. He finally heard something interesting. Tell me more about the ritual. Who the hell is holding an event while I was away? This. The cultists sweated profusely. They gave Leo a nervous look, mistaking him for one of the high priests that had participated in a Mystic Realm expedition. Senior, while you were in the middle of the expedition, our priests managed to capture the monster by chance. The elder priest plans to use it to boost his cultivation base and attack the quasi-immortal realm today. Oh, Leo nodded as he believed that Cat might be there. He crouched in front of the priest and smiled. Can you lead me to them? Oh, of course, Senior. Then, get up and show me the way. I'm old, and I'm kind of forgetful. I always got lost around here. Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Chapter 123 Armed Florida man interrupted baptism ceremony to rescue his cat. One pastor killed. Standing on the altar was Situ Shang, one of many Situ clan agents. The elder wore cone-shaped headwear like the others. Nobody could see his face or his skin underneath his clothes. Situ Shang served both Situ clan and the Fachui cult as he practiced a unique cultivation method, which enabled him to cultivate blood element qi. Because of such a method, he reached the soul transformation stage before his age even reached 200. However, the next stage required a lot of sacrifices and assistance from the Fachui cult. Abusing the authority of the Fachui cult while all core members were away, Situ Shang managed to abduct commoners, cultivators, and monster beasts around the continent and gather them in the underground city. The next hurdle was to break the limitations of mortal and reach the quasi-immortal stage. However, Situ Shang needed a catalyst for his blood element essence to reach the next stage. The sacrifices were insufficient for him. Situ Shang glared at Cat in the cage. Although she never stopped eating random cultists nearby, the Situ elder refrained from making a move on her. Instead, he inwardly sneered at the disciples and Cat. Keep eating, you monster. When you're full, I'll kill you and get your monster core. Oh, I can't just stand still and do nothing. I have to command these fools to start the ritual. The elder coughed and ordered everybody. Start the ritual. Drain the captive blood. As for that monster, stay away from it. Array masters, seal the cage and prevent the vines from coming out. The priests and disciples rushed to work, hoping to gain some contributions and leftover qi from the ritual. A dozen cultists threw talismans into the air. Yellow papers shone and floated around Cat's cage. They formed a dome barrier array, trapping Cat from poking her vines out. Tink. Her thorn vines touched the array, but an electric current zapped her. She pulled her vines back. Cat took her time. She chewed the last guy in her mouth until his flesh and bones melted into a liquid. After digesting the juicy meat, Cat looked around. Her humanoid torso also came out to explore the underground city. Noticing how she was trapped, Cat pouted. She had the urge to cry and call Leo for help like a spoiled child. But then, her eyes spotted so many strangers, who never hid their hostile intents and murderous aura. Nom nom meow? The chomper mouth widely smiled, and so did her human face. Since many edible humans were present there, it would have been a waste to scream and call for Leo to help her. She might as well kill these people for food. She wanted to hog all cultists to herself. The girl cackled and lashed 8 thorn vines at the cage. The metal bars were snapped in half upon impact while shrapnel and pieces of small steel pipes flew in every direction. Dong, dong. The shrapnel and cage's pieces hit the array dome and bounced back. None of the fragments harmed the surrounding cultists. Nom nom meow. Cat pushed forward. She swung her pride thorn whips and the barrier. The first few hits did nothing to the dome. She managed to cause several ripples in the formation, but she couldn't get through the barrier. Her strength, which had been nurtured through her food and Leo's influence, was stimulated by her desperation. She cladded her thorn whips with wood element essence and tried again. Putting more force into each strike, she targeted the same spot that she had hit earlier. Clank. In one hit, the talisman array barrier was broken. All floating talismans turned into normal paper and flew by the wind. The array masters around Cat coughed blood as they suffered a backlash from the destroyed array. Some of them collapsed to the ground, falling unconscious. As soon as Cat broke free, she charged at the largest crowd in front of the altar, where the cultists had gathered their captives and sacrifices. Without discrimination, Cat swallowed everybody in her path and captured as many humans as she could with her thorn vines. Nom nom meow love. That was not all. Cat summoned her Tao avatar to merge with her physique. When they became one, she grew 10 meters taller. Her size expanded until her human head hit the ceiling. Maya! Cat stopped growing. Instead, she shrank her body mass to reduce her height by a meter. She then looked up and rubbed the top of her head. When she stabilized, she heard the command of their leader. Now, kill all captives and kill that monster. Situ Shang sneered at Cat after she transformed into a giant chomper plant. He believed that it was time to harvest her monster core. After ordering his men, Situ Shang summoned his Tao avatar. A spirit emerged from his body and floated behind him. The Tao avatar was a tall and slender young man in a robe. He had long vampire fangs and elf ears. However, his bright crimson pupils were the same as blood. The Tao avatar opened his arms and screeched. Suddenly, all liquid blood and blood cells within 100 meters gathered in him. Each droplet became Situ Shang's element chi. After extracting blood from his surroundings, Situ Shang pointed his left fingertip at Cat. Blood Sovereign, Blood Spear. After shouting his technique name, the Tao avatar merged with the collected blood and transformed himself into a crimson spear. It floated in midair for a moment. Then it accelerated toward Cat at the speed of sound. Cat instantly turned around and opened her chomper mouth. She caught the spear with her teeth. The blood spear instantly exploded, scattering blood droplets everywhere. Some of the blood splashed on Cat's skin. Sizzle. The crimson fluid was as hot as magma, causing Cat's skin to sizzle because of the intense heat. She frowned and patted her chomper mouth to get rid of the hot acidic liquid from her body. Again, Situ Shang hadn't finished his technique. He straightened his fingertip and summoned another spear. The scattered blood droplets earlier gathered in front of Situ Shang. At the same time, his men began slaughtering the captives and other sacrifices, which spilled more blood. As more fluid was within range, Situ Shang's blood spear became bigger and longer. Cat also noticed the trend. She threw her prey away and focused on the elder. However, she paused for a moment as she calculated how to defeat this foe. Looking at the elder, Cat recalled how Leo fought. The chomper's mouth curved up into a wide grin as Cat weaved her vines into a massive arm and fist. She applied wood, metal, water, fire, and earth element essence into the fist and threw a punch toward her target. Rho alpha and d alpha s and omicron v epsilon l dot c omicron m. Sensing the crisis, Situ Shang kicked the ground. Boom! The punch hit the altar and destroyed half of the building. However, Cat's attack hadn't finished yet. As Cat's vine arm and fist had no joint, she used it as a whip, lashing at Situ Shang. Impudence! Realizing that he couldn't dodge the strike, Situ Shang transformed the massive blood spear into a blood barrier dome, covering himself. Boom! The thorn arm directly hit Situ Shang. However, something unexpected occurred. The blood dome around Situ Shang remained intact. However, Cat's arm was cut in half. Maya! Cat screamed in pain and confusion as she didn't understand how her proud element essence was destroyed by a simple corrosive blood barrier. Ha 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 ha! Foolish monster! My blood element essence is superior to the basic 5 elements. Your chi is nothing but food for my power. Cat gave Situ Shang a meaningful look. She glanced at her severed thorn vines, which rapidly blackened as if they were mutating. Seeing the mutating vines, Cat thought of Leo again. She imagined what Leo would do in her position, but suddenly, she remembered the teaching of the mysterious voice. Munya! Mimicking the mysterious master's voice, Cat used a new technique. Cat's severed vines began producing black liquid. She deeply inhaled and commanded the fluid to gather in front of her human torso. When the black blood mass was as big as the humanoid part, Cat transformed it into a mannequin before she hardened the substances. A female black mannequin, which was made from Cat's blood, appeared for the first time. A summoning art? Situ Shang narrowed his eyes and sneered at Cat. Your struggle is futile. Your fate is sealed, monster. Now, surrender and give me your monster core, and I'll give you a painless death. Cat said nothing. She commanded the black mannequin. Nom nom meow. The black mannequin looked up while it was floating in midair. Her face and head slowly wiggled and transformed into a pretty woman's face. She slowly grew long black hair and evolved her torso to become as slender as a modern model. The transformation was completed in seconds. The black mannequin raised her head and glared at Situ Shang. Then, she vanished. Situ Shang recognized the technique. It was the same technique that Situ Nantian always used when the latter traveled around the continent. Whoosh! Instantly, the mannequin appeared in front of the elder. Her punch directly hit the man's gut. Gah! Situ Shang bent forward upon impact. He vomited a stream of fluid from his mouth before the punch's momentum pushed Situ Shang toward the ceiling. Boom! The elder's back hit the ceiling before he fell to the ground. The mannequin pursued to finish off the foe. But as soon as Situ Shang fell to the ground, his body transformed into a pool of blood. Cat and the mannequin paused as they were confused. They had no idea how to deal with a shape-shifting opponent. Rumble. As more blood came out from the sacrifices, they condensed and gathered into a dozen blood masses, floating in midair. Because of the movements, the mannequins and Cat looked at them for a moment. That distraction was their mistake. Piu! The blood pool earlier transformed into a spike and pierced through the black mannequin's chest. The spike quickly wrapped around the doll, and the face of Situ Shang appeared among the floating blood. Fool! I'm the blood master. You cannot kill me. I am immortal. Say what? A foreign voice and the weird accent of an old man interrupted Situ Shang's sentences. He momentarily looked at the person. Approaching the sacrificial altar and the chaos was a group of 100 cultists, who escorted a strange old man here. In addition, Situ Shang had never seen this old man before. FFZZZHKKRRGGH. An energy hum echoed in the underground city as a rainbow sword flew toward the black mannequin, pierced through a layer of blood, but it didn't harm her body. The mannequin turned to look at Leo and glanced at the lightsaber. She grabbed the handle and weaved it around. SWUA. The lightsaber sliced and burnt the blood spike and the mass around her. The mannequin fell to the ground and looked at the damage she had caused. Awa! What the hell is this? Situ Shang's real body emerged from one of the floating blood masses. White smoke came out from his body as he narrowly escaped from the burning sword. He glared at the mannequin's lightsaber for a moment before he turned to the intruder. You are courting death. Bang! A rubber bullet, cladded with Leo's element essence, pierced through Situ Shang's head. The latter's consciousness turned black without realizing what hit him. Leo calmly stood while he held the gun point toward Situ Shang's floating corpse. He yawned. Can we finish this quick? I'm tired. I want to sleep. Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Chapter 124. Who baffled as Florida man successfully cured COVID by spitting into patient's mouth. A few minutes earlier, Leo followed the crowd to a massive horror hallway, where dried corpses, blood stains, skeletons, and human body parts piled into mountains. He glanced at the scene and pursed his lips, having the urge to contaminate everything and bring them to his alchemy workshop. So many treasures, uttered Leo. The cultists laughed in elation. Of course, Senior. We've brought in so many sacrifices this year. Situ Shang. It was Leo's first time hearing of Situ's surname. He still had no idea that he had defeated Situ Nantian, who was the strongest among Situ clan's cultivators in this world. Yes, Senior. After you and everybody has entered the mystic realm, Elder Priest Situ Shang has been managing the cult. He said that he was about to reach the quasi-immortal stage soon. If we can bring him enough sacrifices, he promised to contribute his blood element cultivation method to the sect and allow us to cultivate it. Leo narrowed his eyes for a moment and turned his attention to the mountains of corpses. He secretly checked the age and gender of the sacrifices. Most of the dead bodies were adult and old men. Some beasts' carcasses were in the mix. Although everything looked perfectly fine for a villain organization, Leo was still disgusted by their ethic and warped philosophies. These guys weren't qualified to be his customers, Leo thought. They deserved to rot in hell. Looking enough, Leo averted his eyes from the piles of dead bodies. But as he walked without looking at the road, his feet kicked something small. Leo looked at his feet. Then, he noticed a dead body of a 3- or 4-year-old little boy. The dead body looked like a dried mummy whose blood had been drained. Leo's expression turned dark. He knelt and flipped the dead body. When it was flipped over, Leo could see the child's wide eyes. The boy's despair and desperation could be seen in his expression as he died with his eyes wide open. Silently, Leo reached out and touched the child's face. He closed the boy's eyes and inwardly prayed. They will pay. Be patient. As Leo directly touched the dead body, the corpse crumbled into dust. Leo stood up and quietly followed the crowd. He pulled out a pistol and a repaired lightsaber from his spatial ring, preparing a massacre. Boom! As Leo was about to activate the Avenger mode, a loud explosion from the end of the hallway interrupted his thought. Leo and the cultists looked forward. Someone is fighting. The cultists sprinted in the direction. As for Leo, he cocked the pistol, preparing to backstab everybody. But then, his nose caught the scent of cat. In addition, a thick iron-like odor kicked Leo's nose. Flashback scenes of cat entered Leo's mind. His pupil color changed from green to red, and his sclera turned black. For the second time in this world, the kind and silly Florida man was angry. This time, his rage surpassed when Situ Nantion stole his goodies. Kicking the ground, Leo leaped forward and sprinted on the wall, overtaking the cultists. He arrived at the altar area before the group. Upon arrival, Leo looked up and found Kat. However, she was not in good condition. Her vines were severed, and she bled black blood. Not far from her, a black mannequin lady's stomach got punctured by a spike, and slime-like blood threatened to devour her. Leo also overheard their conversation. "Fool! I'm the Blood Master. You cannot kill me. I am immortal dash." "Say what?" Leo uttered, but his voice echoed in the chasm. Not thinking of anything, Leo threw the lightsaber toward the mannequin. The mannequin lady caught the lightsaber and glanced at Leo. As soon as she saw him, she and Kat reacted in unison as they recognized him. Although the mannequin's physique was made from Kat's blood, her face was capable of expressing emotions. For the first time, the mannequin lady proudly smiled. Using the lightsaber, Kat's Dao avatar broke free from the blood restraints and the spike. After getting back to the ground, she gazed at the damaged spike and the mass of blood. Strangely, the blood slime failed to merge or come back to life. They melted and burnt because of the sword's energy. The mannequin gazed at the lightsaber, impressed and astonished. She then looked at her savior and Kat. Meanwhile, Situ Shang felt the burn from the lightsaber. He transferred his consciousness to another floating blood mass and reconstructed his body. Awa! What the hell is this? He soon spotted Leo, who had thrown the lightsaber at the mannequin. In anger, Situ Shang glared at Leo, and their eyes met. Leo silently aimed his pistol towards Situ Shang's head. His mannequin Dao avatar also merged his hand with Leo's, assisting the aim. You are courting death dash. Bang! The bullet pierced through Situ Shang's head and exploded his brain out from the back hole. No fancy effect occurred as Leo didn't bother adding too many drops of his element essence or chi. The floating body of Situ Shang was suspended in the air for a few seconds before it fell to the ground. Elder Situ? The cultists looked at Leo and Situ Shang in shock as the fight happened so fast. The people around the altar were also stunned as they didn't expect a fellow cultist to kill each other. Moreover, none of the cultists had seen the artifact in Leo's hand before. The cultists shivered and trembled in fear. Even though Leo had murdered one of their elders, they didn't have the guts to retaliate. After all, the strongest cultivators here were nascent soul cultivators. They were aware that they couldn't defeat Leo, whose aura resembled soul formation cultivators. Leo complained and yawned. "Can we finish this quick? I need to sleep. I'm tired." Ignoring Leo, Kat shed tears of joy. She jumped. "Meow love. Yeah, I love you too. Also, who is this black lady? Is she your friend?" Kat turned to the black blood mannequin. The hole in her stomach was already healed as her physique was made from liquid. She faced Leo and slightly bowed her head. Leo looked back and forth between Kat and the mannequin. He let out a short sigh. "Fine, I'll ask you two later." He turned his attention to the other cultists around him. As random combat would have been troublesome, Leo came up with an idea. He shouted, "Form ranks, idiots. Stand 10 rows in front of me if you don't want to die." The people jolted and ran toward Leo. However, as Kat was still in her giant form and the mannequin was still on the loose, not everybody followed his order. Noticing that the crowd didn't follow Leo's instructions, he pointed at Kat. "Guess what? That monster over there is my freaking daughter. Whoever messes with her mess with me. Capice?" Hearing Leo's words, their brains computed and understood why Leo killed Situ Shang. They rushed toward Leo and stood in rows and columns, ignoring the presence of Kat and the mannequin lady. When everybody in the chasm finished gathering, Leo let out a sigh of relief. He stared at them, pondering if he should massacre everybody here at the same time or capture them in his domain. Still, human trafficking, senseless murdering, and promoting dubious rituals were unforgivable crimes by Leo's standards. He had no intention of leaving them alive. I might as well terminate this stupid organization. I need to expand my store domain south one day, and these idiots are in the way. Welp, time for some liquid harvesting. Coming up with an idea, Leo also purchased a large bucket from a system store. He then spat several times into the bucket and filled it with water using his water chi. After the bucket was full, Leo ordered the crowd. One by one, bring your cup and scoop the water from the bucket. Do not drink it yet. The crowd was confused. As they saw Leo spit into the container, their expressions were complex as they were disgusted. Still, as it was an order from a senior cultivator, they had no choice but to comply. One after another, the cultists brought out a cup, a glass, or a bamboo canteen from their spatial rings. They took the water from the bucket and went back to the line. As over 200 cultists were present in the chasm, Leo quickly ran out of water. He was forced to spit several more times and refilled the container with his chi. Then, he continued the process until everybody got theirs. 3 hours later, everybody got their water. They stared at the containers in their hands, wondering what Leo was trying to do. As they inspected further, they discovered that the water surface glittered in rainbow light. What is this water? The elder spat in it. What is he doing? Isn't this element chi? Nobody could guess Leo's intention. They waited for his next order. When everybody returned to their position, Leo gave them the next order, which shocked them. Very good. Now, drink the elixir in your hands. No exception. What? Everybody was taken aback as they hadn't forgotten how Leo spat into the bucket. They looked at the water containers in their hands in disgust. Still, Leo's order was absolute. Fearing death, more than half of the cultists drank the water while the rest waited to see the result. Leo wasn't when he dealt with his prisoners. He looked at Cat. Cat. Nom nom, the idiots that haven't drunk the water yet. Nom nom, meow. Without hesitation, Cat regrew her vines and snatched 50 cultists in the yard. Not bothering with their clothes and spatial rings, she threw them into her chomper mouth and chewed them in glee. Forgive us. As Cat hadn't captured all of them in one try, the rest of the cultists covered their noses and downed the water in their throats. After drinking the diluted spit, they knelt and begged Leo. We drank it. We've drunk it, Senior. Please forgive us. We didn't know, Senior. It was Situ Shang's fault. Please don't kill us. Svel.Siamikronem, Leo snorted. He walked toward the mannequin lady and took back the lightsaber. He deactivated it and put it back into his spatial ring, after which he crossed his arms and silently stared at the remaining crowd. He counted as he waited. 7, 9. The people were more confused. They counted along. 10, 11, 12. Ugh! A cultist squeezed his throat and collapsed to the ground. He trembled and uncontrollably convulsed. After the first guy showed the symptom of mutation, the others also began to scream. Aya! Pea poison! No! The remaining cultists in the chasm courtyard squirmed in pain. Their muscle mass swelled and bloated as their blood multiplied. Schwifty 1, Schwifty 2. As torturing these cultists improved Leo's mood, his accent degraded. He started counting and using baby language. Schwifty 5. Man, this takes me back to the classical age of YouTube. That day, Cat and the mannequin watched how Leo mutated and killed 200 cultists at once while the guy randomly danced like a lunatic in the middle of the corpse field. Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much. Chapter 125. Florida man accused of being pedophile after he escorted lost child to her parents' home. After tricking 200 cultivators into drinking diluted saliva, Leo started collecting their rings and talisman papers. Meticulously, Leo inspected every spatial ring and ejected useless items. Then, he used them to store the mutated corpses to bring back home. When he finished cleaning the mess, Leo went back to the pile of human corpses that the cultists had discarded. Although Leo wasn't a religious person, he held his hands and prayed. Y'all can rest in peace. I've avenged you. Those mofos are now rotting in hell. Leo bitterly smiled and patted the mountains of corpses with his bare hand. Dried bones and old dead bodies instantly turned to dust while wet corpses turned black. As Leo had no intention of desecrating regular people, he pointed his finger at them. Cancer cells, can I have some fire chi, please? I need a torch to burn them. Whoosh! Leo's blood cells were always cooperative. A stream of flame came out from Leo's fingertip and burned the victim's remains. Meanwhile, Kat and her mannequin subordinate had nothing to do. As Leo seemed busy, they helped him gather the mutated corpses into one place. While they were at it, they secretly stole a couple mutated corpses and shoved them in Kat's mouth. As the black mannequin lady was originally Kat's blood, her time in this world was limited. 10 minutes after coming out to life, she reverted into a puddle of black blood and returned to Kat's body. Kat's Tao avatar also returned to her side after she had possessed the mannequin. She patted her master's human head and laughed at her. When all the dead victims got their respective cremation, Leo turned his attention to the living. He gazed at the captives, who survived the onslaught earlier. 100 cages trapped over 1,000 men and women. Most of them were poor people in ragged clothes, while over 100 of them were children. Unfortunately, not everybody was lucky. When the cultists extracted their blood earlier, they got hit by their Taoist techniques. Everybody in the cages was dead. Leo opened the cages and inspected the victims one after another, searching for survivors. Unfortunately, no miracle existed for the weak. Although sad and angry, Leo patiently burned the carriages along with the corpses of the victims, disallowing the other cultists from outside to use their dead bodies for dubious purposes. After thrashing and burning everything, Leo looked at Kat. "Have you played enough?" "Meow." Kat pouted as she thought that Leo would scold her. "Let's go home." "Meow, love. Also, you have a lot of explanation to do. Did you steal my food again?" "Maya!" Kat's pupils dilated. She reverted to her chomper form and sprinted away from Leo in panic. "Come back here, you little shit." Leo laughed, but he didn't run after her. He gazed at the underground city and narrowed his eyes. He hadn't found the Fatui cult's treasury yet. Unless he could steal their valuables and treasures, this cult could always recover their losses. For the sake of annihilating the Fatui cult to its roots, Leo didn't follow Kat home. He explored the city and searched for other cultists. After all, the underground city was huge. Walking randomly in the underground city for 6 hours, Leo got a lot of souvenirs for Gao Yen and Wu Bai. He found several bottles of pills and herb fields in some gardens and collected everything. After ransacking the last house, Leo stopped exploring the underground city. He turned his attention to the other sections of the underground labyrinth. Aside from the sacrificial altars and the city, Leo found 100 doors, which connected to other rooms and hallways. When Leo explored them, he discovered that the hallways brought him to the surface instead. Not wanting to leave yet, Leo returned to the underground city. He backtracked to the area that he had fallen into earlier as he remembered that there were other paths that he hadn't checked yet. Getting back to the abandoned underground area with smelling salt doors, Leo looked at the south gate, the north gate, and the west gate. He shut down the sense of smell for the sake of his sanity and approached the south gate first. Once Leo stored the purple doors, a new path led him to a new area. Walking along the hallway, Leo came across a prison area. The same purple steel bars and prison rooms were made from the same material, which seemed odd. Leo looked into each cell to see if anybody got trapped there. Unfortunately, only old skeletons remained. Spider webs, stale air, and thick layers of dust told Leo that nobody had come here in ages. Leo covered his nose and explored further into the prison to search for a survivor. At the end of the prison hallway, Leo came across a 10-meter-tall prison cell. Inside the room was a dried corpse of a little girl, whose arms and legs were chained to the wall. Strangely, on the bars, silver talismans never stopped shining, emitting strong yang element essence. Leo glanced at the talismans. Then he looked at the prisoner's corpse. After that, Leo checked the talismans again. "I have a feeling that something will go wrong if I steal these talismans. Should I remove it?" Decision. Decision. Leo crossed his arms and deeply pondered, calculating the pros and the cons. His instinct cried that he shouldn't remove the talismans as they might be sealing something dangerous inside, especially the chained little girl. However, his greediness urged him to snatch the talismans and eat them to boost his lifespan. But in the end, Leo's confidence in his abilities supported his greed. He pulled the silver talismans on the bars and shoved them in his spatial rings, keeping them as food. Rumble. The earth trembled as soon as Leo removed one of them. The other talismans also ceased emitting light, and the yang element essence around the cell was gone. Leo paused for a moment as he had a bad feeling about this. He wryly smiled. Meh, what could go wrong? At best, I'll just die again. He shrugged and pulled other silver talismans, not leaving anything behind. After collecting the last lifespan paper, Leo glanced at the dead lowly on the wall, but the corpse was no longer there. Leo's expression turned into a poker face meme. The corners of his mouth slightly curved up into a grin, and his eyes looked up as if he mischievously mimicked a meme. F***CK. Chomp! Something small latched onto Leo's back and bit his nape. For small fangs poked his skin, but they failed to penetrate it. Still, the fangs managed to push his skin 1 centimeter deep. While being attacked, Leo stood still. He tried chatting with the assailant. You might die again if you touch my skin. But I guess it's too late to warn you. Jrrr. The little girl inside the cell earlier clung to Leo's back. Leo wasn't surprised that she suddenly came back to life after he removed the talismans, as he had seen this template in movies before. Still, he found it funny that he experienced this horror scheme first-handed. The girl kept trying to bite him. A minute later, her 4 fangs broke in half. Ugh! Finally, the girl groaned. Then, her hoarse voice entered Leo's ears. What are you? Leo snickered. While the girl clung to him, he leisurely walked out of the prison. He also introduced himself. Just a passing by Florida man, nice to meet you, kid. Also, you're welcome. The girl stopped talking. She seemed exhausted after the biting attempt. Still, she seemed immune to his cancer cells for some reason. Leo was also surprised that the girl didn't mutate after touching him for a minute. He thought of the monsters in the mystic realm, such as a giant tarantula spider and thunder unicorns. He wondered if strong monsters managed to naturally evolve and develop immunity to cancer cells. As the girl wouldn't die from cancer, Leo decided to give her a hand. After all, he might be able to extract her lifespan after this. Since she seemed to be thirsty, Leo created water with his chi and splashed it on her face. You thirsty kid? The girl accidentally swallowed the water. She coughed several times, but she drank it anyway. However, the water and Leo's attitude irritated her. I'm no kid. Really? How old are you, then? Older than your grandfather. Oh? Are you over 50,000 years old? Huh. The girl squinted her brows, confused. She slowly grabbed the back of his neck with her small hands and extended her fingernails. Slowly, she clawed Leo's nape. Again, the claw was ineffective. Leo's skin was unharmed. You're a monster. I got that a lot when I beat up some talking kaijus. Anyway, thanks for scratching that. Can I ask you a favor and scratch my left back? I think my stupid cancer cells are having a feast of dust mites over there, and it's itchy. Can you scratch it for me? The girl froze. For the first time in her life, she met a weirdo, the strongest weirdo. While chatting, Leo reached the west gate of the previous room. He walked along the hallway and reached another area. This time it was a room full of skeletons. Leo sat and inspected a skull. Strangely, the skull had long fangs, but it resembled a human skull. The girl glanced at the skeleton mountain. She groaned again. Damn cultivators. If I was in my prime, the likes of Situ and Yen couldn't possibly harm my kin. Leo smiled as she sounded a lot clearer. Say kid, are you one of these dead people? They're my people, so what? Then are you a vampire or something? Your kin's fangs are kinda long. The girl snorted. Don't lump us together with those blood-sucking fiends. We're the nobles of the night. We don't even need blood to live. But your fangs. Those are for hunting. Leo shrugged. He turned around and returned to the room earlier. Afterward, he tried the north gate next. While walking, the girl didn't give up trying to kill Leo. She clawed him using the best of her abilities. However, he didn't budge, and his skin was unscratched. Frustrated, the girl revealed her identity. You're not human. What are you? Why can't I, the immortal Lich Empress, kill you? Leo stopped walking. He then burst into laughter. Immortal Lich Empress? You? Ha 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 ha. The Lich Loli was enraged. She punched the back of Leo's head, but it did nothing to him. From an onlooker's perspective, she looked like a little girl throwing a tantrum. How dare you humiliate this queen? I'll kill you. Yeah. Keep trying, kid. You. Ignoring the kid, Leo entered the north section of the abandoned area. Then, he arrived at a small courtyard with a decayed mansion. Stone statues of gargoyles were half broken as they all lost their heads. The walls and the doors were also in ruins. In front of the mansion was a garden area, but only dead plants remained. As for the mansion, it still looked as new. A red dome covered the entire building, protecting the resident from external influence. When Leo approached the mansion, he discovered the same silver talismans around the area. Someone deliberately placed them around the structure as if they wanted to seal the residents inside. Leo scoffed and collected the talismans around the mansion. Again, as soon as he picked one of them, the formation array was broken, and the array's effects were dispelled. The girl narrowed her eyes as she observed how Leo collected the talismans. "Why are you helping us?" asked the girl. "I'm not helping you. I'm just a scavenger, and I'm taking some goodies home." "Anyway, nice to meet you, Empress. Can you get off my back now?" Visit and read more novel to help us update chapter quickly. Thank you so much.